Alright kids, before the Civil War, slavery was a $3.5 billion industry. Billion, with a capital B. And the enslaved were the currency. They were capital and treated like property rather than like people. So after our freedom was proclaimed, you could see why no one was celebrating our independence, except for black people. Capital B, make it bold please. So today we're going to talk about Juneteenth, a holiday that celebrates freedom. And this will include insights to black people's bondage, our barriers to celebrate other American holidays, and my belief that Juneteenth will be more than just a Black Independence Day. Before I continue, I just want to say quickly concerning the other Independence Day. Frederick Douglass, American orator, statesman, abolitionist, and ex-enslaved black man, summed up the black perspective best during a speech delivered on July 5th, 1850.
What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days of the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is a constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham.
Sorry, I thought it best if you heard it from King Joffrey Joffre, Mufasa, King of Zamunda, in all of his Darth Vader glory. This speech would come to be known as What to the American Slave is Your 4th of July. In an unrelated note, man, Frederick Douglass was 35 when he said that? Gotta step my game up. On January 1st, 1863, in the middle of the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, proclaiming the enslaved in the South to be free. The enslaved in Union-occupied states remained in chains until the 13th Amendment. This news didn't reach the almost 250,000 enslaved people in Texas, the most remote and isolated state where slavery was legal, until after the Civil War was over. Union Army General Gordon Granger arrived in Texas on behalf of the federal government and stood on the balcony of Galveston's Ashton Villa to read General Order No. 3, announcing the total emancipation of those held as slaves. The date was June 19th, 1865. The following year, the first Juneteenth was held in Texas. Early celebrations included stories and testimonies from slavery, empowerment, prayer, dancing, singing hymns and spirituals, cooking, baking red velvet cakes and strawberry pies, the red to signify the blood of the enslaved and the resilience of black people. And I was surprised to see that Juneteenth celebrations, whether now or in the past, don't or didn't mention Abraham Lincoln, or even show his image or likeness. I mean, he is the great emancipator. Now, I'm not saying that he should be included because his views on black people were problematic and complicated to say the very least. Look, 12 of the first 16 U.S. presidents enslaved black people. That's still about 25% of all U.S. presidents. 8 presidents did so while in office. While this did not include Abraham Lincoln, it did include his vice president, Andrew Johnson. Lincoln had friends who enslaved people, and sure, he always maintained that slavery should be abolished from a moral standpoint, but he was unsure of how to do it in the beginning of his political career. Lincoln considered freeing all the enslaved and sending them to Liberia, to their own native land. He made it clear that he in no way was in favor of bringing about the social and political equality of white and black races, and saw no way that black and white people could live together peacefully. Therefore, he didn't think black people should be able to intermarry with white people, hold office, serve on juries, or have the right to vote. He would later go on to argue that black men who served in the Union Army or Navy should have the ability to vote, that number estimated at 200,000 men by the end of the Civil War. As for black soldiers, some of which went from being enslaved in the South and fighting for the North, we could argue that a number of black men freed themselves. Because of the 13th Amendment, as I mentioned earlier, while the country was still under Reconstruction, for those that were not placed in jail or in prisons, they were met with violence. White men who were once fugitive slave catchers became sheriffs and mercenaries. Despite this, while black people migrated across the U.S. in order to escape being lynched, among other things, they took Juneteenth with them, and the celebration slowly grew from its roots in the South to across the nation. During the Great Depression, Juneteenth celebrations slowed down. A younger black generation distanced themselves from their enslaved ancestors, either because of the time that had passed or disinterest in being associated with it. 2 world wars and the civil rights movement didn't help it either, but Juneteenth was still in the hearts and minds of black people who likened their fight against racist laws in the South and racism by rights and customs in the North to that of slavery 100 years prior. Then, in 1968, Juneteenth received another strong resurgence through the Poor People's March to Washington, D.C. Poor people, everyone, diverse backgrounds, a multiracial effort in order to gain social and economic justice, giving all people what they need to live. With that said, Juneteenth will be a celebration of blackness and freedom for all. which should be celebrated by all, because without what happened on June 19th, 1865, all weren't free. So to the reluctant white people, I've seen how they get down during Cinco de Mayo, which they may think celebrates Mexico's independence. They can celebrate Juneteenth. Now, I can't say yet whether white people can come to the cookout and do the electric slide with my aunts and uncles while we listen to Before I Let Go by Frankly Beverly and Mays 16 straight times. And someone in my family tells them that they don't know nothing about that. And then my cousin, you know the one who be doing the most, starts twerking while the family chants, "Hey!" But as I already mentioned, there are all kinds of ways to celebrate. Juneteenth can be a nationally recognized federal holiday if we can lift every voice and sing. It works. That's what Stevie Wonder did when he created the Happy Birthday song for Martin Luther King. Before Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday became a federal holiday, activists, government officials, and legislators fought for it. Stevie Wonder made the song to give the effort a little push, which is why to this day, black people sing the Happy Birthday like this.
1, 2, 3, happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday.
At the time, only two other figures had national holidays honoring them: Christopher Columbus and George Washington. I'm not going to spend time talking about a man who never set foot on American soil, take down all of his statues around the country. But as I alluded to earlier, George Washington was one of the presidents that enslaved black people. And so did his Mount Rushmore mate Thomas Jefferson, who wrote, "All men are created equal in the Declaration of Independence." So what to the slave is Independence Day? What is Independence Day without everybody being free? What is freedom if it can't be celebrated? Today, over 150 years after Frederick Douglass's speech, somehow we still celebrate those who own people as property. Even the Confederacy has maintained their statues and their flag status, and black people are still looking for equality and trying to celebrate real American independence. Before I forget, January 1st, 1980, Juneteenth became an official state holiday in Texas. Today, 47 of 50 states recognize Juneteenth as a state holiday, ceremonial holiday, or a day of observance. Several businesses and companies like Twitter, the National Football League, and Nike announced that they would treat Juneteenth as a company holiday, providing a paid day off for their workers, and Apple recognizes the day on their calendars. When Juneteenth becomes a nationally recognized federal holiday, it will be more than just a second Independence Day. It will be one of emancipation and jubilee worthy of being celebrated by all. And hopefully, we will have the next day off of work. Then we're going to be all right. Haircut, that's